Hello and welcome, Spartan fans. This is the Coach Donny Holcomb Coaches Show. My name is Rob Cawthorn. I'm the host of the show, and joined as always, we have the head coach of the Mayo Spartans football team, Coach Donny Holcomb. Coach, thanks for joining us again this week.
Pleasure. Great to be back.
Awesome. I want to get some of the housekeeping stuff out of the way. So as always, if you would like to help support the Spartans, we would love your help in any way possible. On the screen there, you can go to our For Giving link, and that way you'd be able to donate to help out the Spartans football team with anything that we could put towards to help the boys throughout the season. Love to have it. Also, you're going to see our Gmail Spartans TD Club Gmail address down there too on the screen. If you'd like to email, be a sponsor of the show, please email us. We'd love to have your help with that as well. And then also you can follow on the Spartans Warriors channel on YouTube. I'm struggling here with all the different ways because, we're just out there all over the place. I can't remember all the other places, but you'll see that on the screen as well, too. So check out. Love that you're watching the show, and we will be live streaming the game this Friday evening for our homecoming game. So I want to talk and thank sponsor of this week's show is Junk Be Gone. A very good, close personal friend of mine, Tim Gerlisberger, reached out and said, hey, the family would like to support the show, and we'd like to sponsor one of the weeks of the show. So can't thank the Gerlisberger family enough. His dad and mom, Pete and Michelle, and then Tim and Ben were both graduates here of Mayo High School, alumnus. Huge supporters of everything Mayo. The whole family is, and have always been great when it comes time to needing something for Mayo football. They helped out with the tunnel. Just can't thank the Gerlisberger family enough. So if you need something removed from your home that you don't want, we all have stuff laying around the house that we need to get rid of. Give Junk Be Gone a call. Go to their website. It's www.junk, then the letter B, gonemn.com. Once again, www.junkbegonemn.com, or giving them a call at 280-0404. Thank you so much for your sponsorship this week. We appreciate it. All right. So
here we go again.
I was sitting thinking about, what do I want to talk about? I give people credit who do this for a living, because coming up with things to talk about with football week after week does be, you would think it would be a very easy thing to do. It does become challenging after now and then. And here's the thing. I was going to come on here, and I know you can't get into the officials, so I was going to get into it and go, let's talk about the stupid missed call on the last pass when he was easily over the line of scrimmage that has now gone viral. Let's talk about the crappy spots. But once again, I also know that we're short officials, and so we have to kind of do the right thing. And, just my hope is that they've watched the game and maybe learned from it as we ask our kids to. So I'm like, I'm not going to talk about that. We could talk about the emotional aspect of it and what we've kind of, talked about with Farmington as well and those kinds of things. And then I just ultimately decided, you know what? I'm just going to turn it over to you and just say, give me some thoughts, talk a little bit. You've always talked about the pride you have in the boys and the resiliency that they have. And, there's just, to me, man, there's just not enough words to describe, what this team is, where this team has come from, what people did or didn't expect of this team coming into the season. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. Give me your little, quick recap of what you felt at South.
Thanks a lot for doing that. Now
yeah,
I got a quick think of stuff.
You're welcome.
That you couldn't. Right.
Exactly. Well, I do have a couple questions, but
no. Here's the way that we look at it, because there's only one way to look at it. Is let's point out all the positives from having a near win, and that's easy to do. The game of football teaches us lessons about life, and I told the kids, I don't think we would have learned as much if we would have won that game than losing it like we did, because we would have forgot about all the mistakes we made. We would have just been happy to win. And yeah, it would have been great to have our third win of the season, but what does it matter? What does it mean? We got to teach the kids and us as adults that in life, things don't go your way, even when they should. They might not even be fair They might not even be fair. Again, might not be fair because it wasn't fair. But what can you do about it? There's no official that's going to sit there and listen to you and say, oh, you're right, I'm going to change this. It isn't going to happen. So you have to quickly get over it, and you got to focus on what it is and where you want to go with it. And I'll tell you what, that game was so packed with emotions. Every single emotion I think you can have in athletics was in that game, from doing great things, doing bad things, the calls that can sway you one way or another. I mean, just so many emotions. But the one I come out of it with is I couldn't be more proud of our kids. And I always tell them, when you walk off that field, you got to have your head up. The only reason that you should have your head down is if you're a loser. And winning isn't about a scoreboard. It's about how you play, how you feel you played, and the things that you can control. So we need to always have our heads up. But, I mean, just stop and think about what happened. We went up. They tied it. We went down a score. We gave up a score to go down by, was it 2 scores at half? Right before half. All we had to do was stop that, and we'd be a 1-score game, and we get the ball back. 2 scores down. We come back in this game, and then, as you know, we hear from Calder, to have the mindset that game's going to be done. They're punching it in from the 2-yard line, but not quitting and stripping it. And literally, I'm not lying. I told our coaches on the headset at that point, I said, wouldn't this be crazy if we got a fumble? And we got a fumble. And then we went 80 yards. Yeah. 80 yards in 1:58 to score. And unfortunately, in 22 seconds, they did.
Right.
You know,
defensively for the Spartans in that game, I think, of course, stats are misleading. People who didn't watch the game are going to read the article in the paper or see something online. They're going to see the total stats that Lakeville South had, and they're going to just automatically assume the defense played a crappy game. And I think that's what is a little misleading about stats, is because, once again, defense wasn't always put in the best positions as well and those kinds of things. So talk a little bit about, what you saw out of the defense in that game, and where what you took away as some positives.
Well, definitely the second half is where I would point to the positives. Our defense definitely made adjustments and didn't quit, didn't say, oh, man, they're scoring on us every drive. They came back out and fought and did a lot better job in the second half. Unfortunately, a little bit too late, and on offense, we blew an opportunity in a series too. But that's what makes it a team game, and the way that these kids are holding on like no other team I've had before, and to put 40 kids on a field and literally 23 of them playing a game of 6A football, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so speaking offensively, offense is seeming to click. Of course, there were some mistakes, like you said, of course, but seeming to click, things are kind of starting to go to where, and I think early in the season, Isaiah was definitely carrying a load, and he still does to this point, but there are some things that are coming around. As coaches, how are you guys at this point in season? Are you now seeing what this offense is capable of and introducing new things to them and saying, hey, let's give this formation a try, let's give this a try, or are you just kind of repping some of the stuff you've been doing?
If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. That's what I tell the kids every week is, what's our game plan? Well, let's do what worked the last weeks, but we had a couple of different wrinkles in, and like you say, maybe a different formation out of it. But in the past, it was always we're scouting the opponent and what can we do to try to make up for our weaknesses. And we're not doing that. We're just running our offense, and the kids are playing fast and not having to think real hard about what they're doing. And I think that helps. They're having fun, and they're really confident. I think the other thing too that I think makes a difference is when you try to prepare for a wing T team or a option team, it's super hard to do if you don't do that yourself on offense. Well, we're facing a lot of teams that don't run spread. They run the T formation or their double wing. So I got to think it's kind of hard to simulate it in practice to do what we do on offense maybe as well.
For them, for sure. We both know, that football is a sport that allows people to go, if this, then this, if that, then this, all these different kinds of things. But I know, I've been around, coached a long time, so I know what the coach speak is. But from the fan speak, I'm going to talk like that because ultimately, if We don't have 2 last-second losses. We're 4-1 right now, easily ranked in the top 10 of 6A, which would just be unbelievable for people to think that, this only non-metro team in 6A is able to do something like that. Talk a little bit about, is that kind of the mindset of where you guys are at as a team? I mean, do you go, hey, we're a 4-1 football team, we're a top 10 team in this state, and are the boys, believing in that and still feeling that, hey, we're a legitimate contender in this class? I'm
going to be honest, I don't think it's so much of the if we would have done this 4-1. I haven't said it to them one time because we're not.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the facts.
And like I said, I know you're not going to say it, but but I get to say those kinds of things.
I agree with you. But these kids, I'll tell you what is so cool about them is you can't tell if we're undefeated or we haven't won a game. Like, these kids play the same way, and they're playing with that excitement for what they know that they're working for and they want to achieve. And nothing that has happened in the past is going to take their focus away from that. That's
awesome. That's just, like I said, I mean, it really stinks to, to have those kinds of losses, but, man, I'm feeling really good about this Friday. So best of luck. And like I said, it was still a fun and exciting game last Friday night at South. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going to have a couple players join us in the next segment. You're checking out the Coach Donny Holcomb Coaches Show.
Rochester Mayo with the football, first down and 10. They have it at their own 23-yard line. We've seen a lot of Isaiah Beal here. Trick play. Pass is caught right at midfield. Down the sideline goes Noah Hagan, and Hagan is in for a touchdown.
All right, welcome back, Spartan fans. Now we have our player spotlight segment. Coach Holcomb's got a couple players here for us. Coach, why don't you introduce who we have here?
To my left, this great young man is a senior. His name is Calder Sheehan, and he plays everything except for the line. So he's played quarterback, running back, fullback, receiver, corner, linebacker, all-purpose. And to his left, the smaller guy is Jack Regan, and he is a defensive line specialist.
Awesome. Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for taking part. Calder, we're going to start with you. Every week, the Mayo Touchdown Club selects a player of the game. So win or lose. So for the Lakeville South, they nominated you as the player of the game. So congratulations. I want to talk to you first a little bit. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. So halfback pass. So when you saw the corner bite, how excited did you get, and were you nervous you might overthrow Noah?
Well, to be honest, we've never completed that pass in practice, ever. We've ran it like 15 times in practice and have never completed it. And I saw the corner come up, and the next thing I saw was 3 guys in my face. So I'm going to be honest, I kind of just threw it out there, and I didn't hear anything on the Lakeville South side, so I kind of knew that was kind of a good sign. So honestly, I was just kind of scared or not scared, but nervous we weren't going to complete it because we've never completed it in practice, not one time. So it was kind of just a relief to finally get it to work.
Well, that was, like I said, it's nice that the very first one, it's Noah's first varsity touchdown, so one he's going to probably remember the rest of his life. And as you get older, the stories just get better. So eventually it's probably going to be a 99-yard, at some point in time in his life. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. The game was definitely going back and forth. Lakeville South's coming down, get really close to the goal line, getting ready to punch one in. You come over, make a nice strip play on the running back. What were you at that point in time, when you're over there? Is that something you're always doing, digging for the ball, trying to strip it out, something you practice on? How do you go about working on that technique to make sure we're trying to rip that ball out?
I don't really work on it. It's kind of just something that, just kind of happens. But that drive, Coach Holcomb from the sideline was just yelling at all of us to get the ball. So, that was kind of my whole thing, was just try and get the ball out of his hands. Like that whole drive, if you watch it, every time someone hits him, the next guy coming in is just ripping at the ball. So it was kind of just, I was just the guy in the right place. And, we don't really practice that in practice. It's just kind of an instinct thing to just go for the ball in those kind of moments, which I was the guy in the right place at that time. So.
Yeah, were you able did you see it go out of bounds and you knew right away it went out of bounds, or you were not around at that point in time?
Well, I stripped it, and then Joseph kind of hit him, And so, like, there was this huge cluster of people right here, and the ball just kind of fell right out of the whole cluster of people, and I just saw the ball, and I jumped on it, and everyone thought it was out of bounds, but there was, like, this weird little line on the field, and I grabbed it right on the line, and it was literally, like, this far from out of bounds. So
nice.
That's how we got the ball back, which was great.
Sweet. Jack, Coach Holcomb said D-line specialist, and so one of the things I wanted to talk about, playing D-line when you're coming into a lot of teams that you know right away they want to establish the run, they want to establish kind of things up front, and that's what these teams pride themselves on. So they don't throw the ball a lot, don't give you guys a chance to kind of get after the quarterback. So how challenging is it coming into these kinds of weeks to know, hey, I'm going to have to stay disciplined in my run game reads and go through those progressions when a lot of times defensive guys just want to get after it and go?
It's a big challenge. So usually I'm thinking I just want to hold my line of scrimmage. I don't want to let them push me way back to our linebackers. I just don't want to let them run on us.
Yeah. So, like, when you know coming into a week when you're going to go against a team that's gonna want to run the ball, like a lot of the teams have, and North's going to want to do that. What are some of kind of the mental things that you do to during the week to make sure that you're mentally prepared to fill your gaps and do what you need to do on defense?
I usually just think, like, how low can I stay? I really make sure I'm not standing up, because that's been a big problem for me since I started football. And I want to make sure I can take up that gap.
Take up those spaces, yeah. And I mean, over the last few weeks, you guys across the D line, a lot of you guys have done really good at that, and given those linebackers a chance to scrape and flow. For both of you, Jack, you can start and then hand it over to Calder. But these past 3 weeks, there's been a lot of emotions. There's been a couple downs, and an up as well. When you're playing in these kinds of close games, how are you guys as players, remaining close in the locker room, staying tight as a team, and continuing to want to get out there and get that next win?
I usually just make sure I'm bringing my teammates up, trying to keep people hype on the sidelines, just make sure people aren't, like, getting down on themselves about how the game's going. And if we're up, it's even better, because then you can just cheer people on and everyone's in a good mood.
I also think, like, we stay close throughout the season, because we're all getting up in the morning and we're all sacrificing something for each other. I feel like that's something that, like, keeps us all going as a team, and that keeps us all, like, all super tight, because, I mean, none of us – sorry, Coach, but none of us want to be out there Tuesday mornings at 5:50 in the morning or 6:50 in the morning, whatever it is. But it's just we all do it, and we all are hungry for the next win, and I feel like we're gonna get it this Friday, and I know we can. But, yeah, I feel like that's really helped us. It's just, like, we all sacrifice something for each other, so.
That's great. So you guys know it's homecoming week. So talk a little bit about, with homecoming week, you guys, especially as seniors, you want to have as much fun as possible this week. You never get another senior homecoming. But you also know that there's distractions that come with that. Ultimately, you guys are both competitors. You want to win the football game on Friday night. So talk a little bit about that. How do you balance what you kind of want to do in the school and have fun with what's going on with homecoming week, but then also make sure we walk out with that W on Friday?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, like, all I think about is football on these weeks. Like, yeah, I do the dress-up days, but I don't try and get my head caught up in, like, all this stuff outside of football, like all the pep rallies that we're going to have and the dance. Like, we're gonna win on Friday, and then we're gonna have fun for homecoming. But that's where I feel like what I've done in the past couple of years is just football the whole week, and then we can have fun on Saturday. So
perfect. Jack, what about you?
I feel like I just have two different mindsets. If I'm out of football, I can have fun just as much as I want. But when I go onto that field, I need to be locked in to keep my team getting better and just grinding till the game.
Coach Holcomb, you got two seniors here, so they've been around the program for a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your experience with these guys.
Well, I guess I'm shocked, and look at the size of this muscle down here showing off through the jersey. Dang, a little intimidated about these two guys. Well, if you look at Calder, and I said this about Kukla, right? He's not tall. right? Like I'm taller than him by an inch, half an inch, somewhere around there. And Jack hasn't played much football, he'll admit, right? Started out in high school, I believe. But these guys do a tremendous job on the field using the abilities they have and the smarts that they have. They're smart football players, and they're able to put that out on the field and be great leaders and great teammates. So nothing really shocks me that they're able to do. It's just impressive the way they do it and how they keep elevating their game and others around them.
Great. Well, guys, we got 10 questions. So, Jack, why don't you hand the microphone back here to Calder? And then Calder will ask you. You answer. Just move it over to Jack, and then Jack, you answer. All right? Don't think about it. But here we go. So, what is your go-to pregame meal or snack?
Oh, an egg sandwich.
Quick Trip Burger.
What is a game day ritual or superstition?
Go first.
Gotta wake up early.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know.
You don't have one? Okay. All right. So these cool fall mornings, like you talked about, not the most fun to wake up to. What is your go-to most cozy piece of clothing or item you need in the mornings?
I got this furry sweatshirt that I always wear, so that's what I always wear.
Nike sweatshirt.
Okay. If you could play for one football team in the whole history of football, who would it be?
Alabama.
Vikings.
Could have went with like the 85 Bear. You know, I mean, I was kind of looking for a specific, but that's okay. We'll let you. Well, that's all right. We'll let you go. It was a tough question. Who on the team is most likely to start a TikTok dance challenge?
Oh, Brody Schmidt.
Nigel Fisher.
If you could choose a celebrity to change places with for one day, who would it be?
Adam Sandler.
Rob Gronkowski.
Favorite video game?
Call of Duty.
Halo.
Do you like board games or card games?
Card games.
Board games.
If you could only listen to one song on repeat for the rest of the season, what would it be?
Intro by Meek Mill.
Rooster, Alice in Chains.
Give me your best Holcomb quote, Coach Holcomb quote.
Oh, gosh. There's so many.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Best come Holcomb to quote. Snuff the rooster. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
All right, you go first. There's so many quotes.
And if you want to do it in a Coach Holcomb voice, you can do that too if anybody's got a great Coach Holcomb impersonation.
I feel like there's just
You can tell them the one I always say. I love you, Calder, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah, that one's probably the best.
The one that's the one on the top of your mind there.
Yeah. Or any halftime speech when we're not playing our best is probably the best one that I got.
Okay.
Good.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't really know. He says so many different things.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Probably a historic season.
Historic season. Nice. I like it.
Or to lap it.
Lap it?
You know how many times we lap a play in practice because one thing went wrong? Jeez.
Got to get it right.
Awesome. Well, guys, really appreciate you coming on. Good luck this Friday. Feel some good mojo with it being homecoming. Stay safe the rest of the season. Keep the boys healthy, and let's go get another W.
Yes, sir. Thank
you. All
you.
right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out.
So
all right. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We have special guest, former activities director, Mr. Jeff Whitney, up next.
This weekend will not only be a massive game for Mayo football facing Lakeville North, they're also naming their stadium after the man who has given so much to Spartans athletics this Friday. The Spartans Stadium will be named after former Mayo activities director Jeff Whitney, as officially announced by Rochester Public Schools today, as an acknowledgement of his impact and success with the Spartans.
All right, welcome back, Spartan fans. We want to thank Calder and Jack for joining us in the Players Spotlight. Now we have an extremely, extremely special guest. Probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Former, extraordinary, decorated activities director, Mr. Jeff Whitney. Whit, thanks for stopping by and joining us.
Thanks. I don't know if I've ever had that many titles in front of my name, but yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, when I was doing some prep for the show, I was thinking about what I wanted to ask, and I'm sitting there going, well, it probably gets all those, tell me something, most favorite this and most favorite that. And I'm sure those are difficult questions to think about over your storied career. So probably going to ask you something along those lines. But what I wanted to start with is we are a football show, so we have to, even for a hockey and baseball guy, we got to talk a little bit about football. The first thing, I know for any activities, I'm sure there's a ton of work that you have to put in to get ready for it and to pull it off to make it successful. But I would want to assume that Friday Night Lights hold a special reverence to you and kind of have a special place for you. So talk a little bit about just what the Friday nights meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, as an athletic director, it's a big night. There's, obviously it's the largest crowd that you deal with probably most of the year, other than maybe a playoff hockey game or a real big basketball game. So day in and day out, football is the largest crowd that you're going to deal with on a weekly basis when it comes to home games. And then, for years we had crosstown games and we didn't have any of those this year, but obviously with you guys being successful, the crowds have been awesome, and it's a lot of work. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that go on. There's a lot of little things that take place that nobody sitting up here in the stands really thinks about. I always joked you're in charge of the ticket takers, the popcorn makers, the linesmen, the line crew, you name it, parking, tennis court parking, something goes wrong in the lot, everything falls in your lap when it's when it goes haywire. So, but they're amazing nights. Obviously, it's a school community on those nights. It's not just the football game. It's the the dance team and the cheerleaders and the band and many public obviously many public members coming to watch the games. With the stadium here now, and at home, years ago, as when I was at Mayo High School as a kid, we played at JM. We didn't even play in our own neighborhood. So now here with it being in Southeast, and the lights turn on and kids from the neighborhood see it, they all get over here and get excited and have fun. But I always enjoyed Friday nights there. I went home and definitely hit the couch right away when it's over. You're on your feet for many hours on a football Friday, but they're awesome games to work and be at.
So, I mean, everybody knows, read any of the newspaper articles, you've been around Mayo for a long, long time, graduated from here, and then had the opportunity to spend most of your career here. So you've seen a lot of football. You've seen a lot of games. You've seen a lot of changes. You've been around the state high school league for a long, long time as well. So talk a little bit about some of those changes. Like, what have you seen over the years, how football has progressed from an activities director standpoint from when you started your career to where you're kind of at now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that with us being in 6A, it's come, full circle here. We've, started out obviously in the Big Nine for the conception of football at Mayo High School, coming in the mid 60s, and we were the young school in the Big Nine. And, there were years where we were in tough shape. We started out slow and had to build a culture, and, intermittently would have some good years throughout that. And then I would say probably in the mid 90s or early 90s, actually I probably 1980, 81 had a really good team. There were some 80s teams, but it really got rolling, I think, in the 90s when, Coach Miller had some great teams. And then obviously, Donny picked up after that. And, the program really started to be a mainstay in the conference standings. And then, obviously the 6A football threw a little curve at us, and Donny and the kids have done an awesome job, maintaining the culture and maintaining the good play. We've not missed a lick. I mean, we've just gone at it pretty good, even though we're going against some unbelievable programs. So, but football is always obviously the league takes it very seriously. It's it's a high revenue sport, so it's an important sport to have be successful on everybody's campus. The addition of the turf field changed the complexion of us here as well. That allowed us to host some state tournament games, and the league put us on the map by bringing some of those events to Mayo High School, and so we've had some cool games here that don't even involve Mayo High School. So, but football, obviously, from the standpoint of the school is just obviously it kicks the school year off. The kids get involved. Kids get a chance to be in the student crowd and feel what it's like to support their peers, and then hopefully that carries over into all the other activities in the fall and through the school year.
Well, and now we got homecoming week, and we got homecoming on Friday, which I'm sure for an activities director adds a different element, another element to things. Talk a little bit about that, but also any great homecoming games jump out at you as far as over the years?
Well, I've been at every home football game. Prior to retiring, I had been at every home football game in 33 years. Never missed one. I actually got married and scheduled my wedding around a home football game. So the Spartans were on. The Spartans, yeah, it went over well. The Spartans were on the road that night. They were in Austin, and the coaches came back to the reception after the football game. Scheduled my honeymoon on a week when they were out. The next week when they were on the road again. So I've been at every home football game, and I've seen some crazy ones, seen some wild ones. Obviously. Probably seen it all. I've been at every one of them, seen, some great, exciting games. Since we're here on the Donny Holcomb show, the one that I will remember most, I believe, from Donny's tenure was a year that it was the first year of I think it was the first year of the artificial turf. It was 2014, and we had, homecoming. We started the fireworks, and I mean, I have more compliments that the homecoming game is such an event. It's so cool to be here on that night because of all the things that are going on. And that night we upset Mankato West, I believe. Yep. And I remember the Mankato West coach. They'd been very successful for year in and year out. He was trying to get his team, rallied underneath the goalpost down on the south end. And about the time he was, going to talk about the good, the loss that he had just taken under, Donny just giving it to him pretty good on that night, the fireworks started going off over their heads, and he was standing there shaking his head. I mean, it was a pretty amazing night, a great win, and upset a team, and then the fireworks on top of it. So I'll remember that scene. First night on the turf, it was a pretty cool night, that's for sure.
I thought it was going to be because you were worried about the fireworks the first year and the permits and all that.
Yeah, we had one year where it was pretty dry, similar to this year. And the fireworks, I was worried the Bear Creek Woods might go down if one got loose in the woods. But Dan, if that happens to Dano this week, we're in trouble. At least I'm not on the docket for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Kind of on a different note, I mean, we're all three dads. We've all had the privilege of watching our kids participate in activities, which probably for all three of us, gives us more gratitude than us even doing anything on our own. Talk a little bit about that, Jeff. Talk a little bit about how great it was to be around to see your kids become Spartans and graduate from here and participate and go through that with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously special, and, I never would have drawn it up that way. I grew up across the street 2 blocks right here to my left, from the tennis courts. And I used to play outdoor hockey right underneath the press box here, 2 rinks right outside this building. And being a kid playing here was special. Then working was here also special, coaching, teaching, activities director. And then to have your kids come through and play and you guys know it's a cool thing. They're playing for your school. I've been green and gold my whole life, and so have my kids. It's something that you can't imagine. And saw cool moments. They got to experience moments that I experienced as an athlete, and they had. I mean, my 2 boys had the same coach. I was coaching as well, but they had the same coach that coached me, which was kind of a cool thing in hockey. Coach Massey was retired, but just a lot of neat things that take place and a lot of memories that especially being here. I always joked that I was an ATM when I was here. My kids, they could find me when they were short lunch money too easy when I was in my office, but it was special for, to be around. Obviously, Coach Holcomb knows when you're in the building on top of it and you get to see all the things that they get to do. It's a pretty cool event, that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, Donny, I know you've been talking for years. You've been rallying to talk about doing something here at the stadium, and so it has to bring, you always talk about how proud you are of your players and stuff, but it has to bring a sense of pride. And talk a little bit about that, about the pride you feel as far as being a coach that's been around Jeff for numerous years, and just what he's done for you personally as well as professionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a huge development and growth in my own career, being able to be around Jeff. And I mean, I've been here for 25 years. So for me to be able to start out young and have Jeff as the AD along with Gary Addington, then see him take it over and not just be an AD, but be a mentor. like someone that you can walk into his office and you can ask him any question, and he's going to be a straight shooter with you and try to give you the best advice to help you out with whether it's parents or kids or the sport or even how you're feeling about coaching. It's pretty special. But as far as, the ceremony, it's due. Like, I mean, when someone puts their whole life into one spot, it's a no-brainer. And the stadium hasn't been named, so it's a perfect fit. It's going to be a beautiful night out for the game with the weather and the crowd, and it's just fitting to do it and have the stadium named Jeff Whitney Stadium.
So a lot of people might not know, but you actually started as the boys track coach long before you ever became the head football coach. So, Jeff, do you remember what that was like when you had a younger Donny Holcomb come and interview to become that head track coach?
Yeah, I always look forward to at the end of the Mayo invite. Donny was young enough that he could run in the coach's 4x100 relay at that time. And usually we'd win. You'd get, I can't remember who was with you. You had some
faster guys.
You had some fast assistant coaches, but yeah, Donny's been around a long time. I don't think he had any hair then either, but he's definitely been here a long time in two sports. But I've been fortunate. I said this at Quarterbacks Club the other day when all the city coaches were at Quarterbacks Club speaking. We are so fortunate to have individuals in charge of our programs like Donny. The other coaches across town did an awesome job speaking about their programs and speaking about their kids and just the way they present themselves, the way that they explain how not only football is important, but all the other things that they learn throughout practice and throughout the season, the adversity that they go through, the training that they go through in the summer. All of those things start with these guys right here, and if you didn't have them communicating that well and sharing their journey as a coach with the kids, it wouldn't be a good place to play. So I was fortunate. This place is great because I was fortunate to have people like Donny on staff, and it made my job a lot easier. That's for sure.
Well, to wrap it up, talk a little bit about, what's going to happen Friday nights. I mean, I've read the newspaper articles and the quotes and that kind of stuff. Going to be called Whitney Field, which is, like Donny said, deserving. Can't think of a better guy to have this happen to. But just talk a little bit, Jeff, about what that means.
Well, it's you've seen the quotes. It's overwhelming. I'm not speechless very often. As you can tell, I can talk about a lot of things, but it's hard to talk about that. It's something that I never imagined, and obviously it's an unbelievable, humbling honor. It's special. Like I said, I've been green and gold my whole life. I grew up literally on the campus. To come here and literally I played for many of the teachers that were the first teachers that started this school in the building. I learned the culture from those, 1966 24-year-old teachers that started this building. They were a family then. I think that was what was cool about Mayo, the coaching staff, due to just being the second school in town. They were a family, and I think we continued that. Our coaches work together, and they support each other, and they promote each other in their programs. And obviously, me then stepping into this role as activities director at a young age, it's been a dream. It's been a job. In fact, I told the Post Bulletin this morning, they were interviewing me a little bit, and I said, I never felt like it was work. To do this job right, you can't believe it's a job. If you think it's a job, you're going to really think that it's a tough one, because you're here all day, you're here at night, you're here on Saturdays, you're getting phone calls on Sundays. It's a way of life. You just have to survive within that framework, or else you're not going to do it well. And so when I was here, it was just part of me. It wasn't a job. I wasn't here because I was at work. I was here because it was just part of me. And I think that's, hopefully that's the way we were able to support the coaches. We were able to support the kids that were here. The kids always knew when I was around, they would see me. I was visible. I was present. And I enjoyed that because I enjoyed it as a kid. I enjoyed it as an athlete. I enjoyed it as a coach. And so it's extremely special. Like I said, it's overwhelming, and I can't, it's hard to believe. I can see the back of the press box from the house that I grew up in. So it's a pretty cool thing. So I appreciate it immensely. It's an honor that I could have never imagined, and obviously Mayo High School is my home, and this makes it even more special.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I mean, to be able to see it from your childhood home, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing.
Donnie, you got any last comments?
Well, I was going to say, do you want to come out for the coin toss, be the honorary captain?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been out there. I probably should. That'd be a cool deal. And what if I lose the toss?
Well, I was going to say, if you win it, you can call the first play.
All right, sounds good. We're going deep. I already told the other team what we're doing.
Right. It doesn't come out till Friday afternoon anyway, so they won't know. But Jeff, on behalf of the thousands of students and the hundreds of coaches, all the administrators, all the teachers, all the community people, just thank you so much for your passion, and just hearing you talk. I hope people realize that that's what it was over your 33 years. It was a passion. You loved absolutely doing what you do. Like you said, there's going to be times that challenge you, and there's going to be times that, probably you were wondering, what in the world am I doing? But we all thank you so much for the time and the effort and the work you put in. Mayo would not be what it is for these kids without you. So thank you very much. We definitely appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate being on. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jeff Whitney. All right. Stay with us. We will be back. We will talk about the upcoming opponent, Lakeville North.
Long drive here for Rochester Mayo. 4th down. Peterson will take it himself. Peterson to the pylon, and he is in for the touchdown.
All right, welcome back, Spartan fans. Once again, want to thank former activities director, Mr. Jeff Whitney, for stopping by and sharing some of his thoughts and memories. And what a great honor for him to, where we're sitting, where we're looking at, to be called, Whitney Stadium, to be renamed Whitney Stadium. I think it's just a well-deserved tribute for Jeff. So we really want to thank him for stopping and chatting with us. So going to move on here. Going to talk about next opponent. We get the back-to-back, so now we get to face North. Once again, no shocker, number one team in the state. They're 5-0. Have had some close games, but have found some ways to win some of those close games. But, man, talk a little bit about, you got – it's homecoming week, so let's start with that. But what a great opportunity for the kids. Homecoming week, number one team in the state, to just come out and make memories. And that's what, high school sports and high school football is all about, is just creating those lifelong memories. So when you come back to a 30-year class reunion, like I always say, the stories get a little bit more blown out of proportion, but the facts were still there. So talk a little bit about homecoming. How do you and your staff, you want the boys, the kids, to experience those memories. You want them to participate in the fun stuff and do those kinds of things. But how do you as coaches balance having them participate and have fun, but also understanding that we got to win a game on Friday night? It's
exactly what you said. We have to win a game on Friday night. So they have a different responsibility throughout the week, that they have to put their focus on the game. It doesn't mean they can't have fun, outside of practice. We don't want them staying out super late and driving around toilet paper and stuff. But they can have their fun, but when it comes to practice, when it comes to our prep for the game and then the game, that's where their focus needs to be. We have a responsibility to Mayo High School. That's why, we're put in that position. And then they can have a blast after the game and at the dance on Saturday. And even tonight, we got Powder Puff getting ready out there. They're going to have a blast coaching the girls up and being part of that activity.
Yeah, so when we look at North, watching film, like you said, 5-0, and they've had some tight games, but have found ways to pull it out. Offensively, once again, they're going to want to come in, establish the run like a lot of other teams have. But at the same point in time, do have some athletes. The wide receiver, quarterback, seems athletic, left-handed. Haven't seen that this year. First time seeing that. So talk a little bit about when you and the coaches watched film. What were some things that jumped out about you guys, about Lakeville North and their offense?
I think this is the most powerful team. powerful in different sense. I mean, Egan, I guess you say their offense is powerful because they run the ball every single time, almost. North is powerful because they not only run the ball effectively, but they set up their pass, and they're not afraid to throw the ball, and they'll do it a lot more than Egan. But they're very precise about when they do it, sucking the defense in, run, and then dumping a pass into the flat or throwing a fade. But they've got a really nice team, and they're back again from last year having a nice team with size on their line, very aggressive linebackers, and skill makers on offense.
Then on the defensive side of the ball, looks like primarily, I'm guessing, of course, when teams play different teams, they do a little bit different things, but primarily looks like they're going to be in an even front, a 4 front against you guys, and probably start the game in some sort of 4-4, and then maybe go to a 4-3 with, 2 safeties over the top eventually. But once again, like you mentioned, I mean, it looks like they got some beef eaters on that D-line. And even now and then it looks like they'll kind of do that radar defense where they're all just standing up and the O-line's not sure who's coming which way and which gap. So once again, kind of the same thing defensively when you guys were watching film. What are some things that jumped out to you about North defensively?
Well, the radar, and we have a plan. We have a plan versus that when we see it. But we understand where their strength of their defense is, and I believe it's inside the box. So we need to make sure that we can move the ball, running it inside like we have in the past, but that we're taking advantage of perimeter shots and opportunities out there too, because they are very tough in the middle. Yeah,
for sure. And now once again, we always talk about in every aspect there's 3 facets to the game, and we talk about field position and all those different kinds of things. And once again, from the film that I saw, I mean, I didn't watch all 5 games, but North relies heavily in some of those games on some big plays, some 60, 70-yard plays. So how important is it going to be to make sure that the Spartans can win that field possession battle through the special teams play?
That's been a struggle big time for us. Our special teams have not been strong. From a coaching standpoint, we need to say we can't do this because it's been proven, and we got to play some special teams a little safer, just like you said, ball positioning too. Like where we're giving it to our defense to go out and defend and just not giving up fake punts or choosing to kick it deep and then they return it back to the 50. I'd rather just onside kick it and take our chances. But we've got to definitely get better in the special team area and then be smarter as a coaching staff what we do with it.
Well, once again, I think you guys have done a great job each and every week. The boys have, definitely been prepared. And once again, I think what's amazing is after each week, you kind of read the quotes from the team that we just got done playing, and each and every one of those coaches have kind of said the same thing. They're like, wow, didn't think it was going to kind of be like that, which once again, you can take either way, that it's coach speak or they maybe weren't quite, thinking we were going to be able to do what we want to do. But I think North's not going to be any different. I think we're going to come in and surprise them on Friday night. So best of luck. Hope everybody stays healthy. I know you guys are dealing with some injuries and things like that. So keep everybody healthy because you need all of them.
Absolutely. We'll do our best.
Awesome. All right. So, hey, once again, like you mentioned, we got Powder Puff here going on right now. We're out here on Wednesday night. Assuming that 9th and 10th grade are playing at North right now?
9th and 10th grade play tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yep. When it's an away game, they play on Thursdays.
On Thursday,
home,
okay.
Yep, away. And then our 7th and 8th grade play Crosstown Century this week.
Century, yep, awesome. Okay. Once again, I want to thank our sponsor, Junk Be Gone, and the whole Gerlisberger family. Can't thank them enough for everything that they do. So please, if you have anything that you need removed from your house, anything laying around that you don't want anymore, please go to their website, www.junk, the letter B, and then gonemn.com, or give them a call at 507-280-0404. So I can't thank the Gerlisberger family enough for their sponsorship. So on behalf of Coach Holcomb, our man Bodie behind the camera, my name is Rob Cawthorn. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you on Friday night against Lakeville North right here at 7 o'clock at Whitney Stadium. Go Spartans. Hands up.